He is State Senator Ken Bennett. Senator Bennett, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Bruce. And Gaydos, how are you?
We're doing good. So there are a few things in this bill we're going to go over. The racial profiling part. We're going to go over what part of this bill actually secures the border. You were a no vote last week when they tried to push this through, and it was because they wanted to deport the DACA kids. That was an amendment. I think that was horribly nasty, and
I agree.
So
and yes, because of that, and two other things.
Okay.
Because of the DACA language that implied that if the program somehow got canceled by the federal government, that Arizona would go back and try to deport DACA, individuals. Mm-hmm. I thought that was so wrong that I said, unless that's removed completely, and some other things, I'm a no.
Got it.
And that was removed today.
Okay.
So the DACA thing is totally gone. The second thing that I specified last week was that the bill did not be specific enough on being a border security bill rather than we're going to enforce immigration law throughout the interior of the state. So I wanted something like the Senate president, who's been talking about this bill for a couple weeks, said on a radio station, and I think it was this one maybe, last week, that this is written so that law enforcement would have to see somebody crossing the border illegally in order to arrest and detain them. Mm-hmm. So I wanted language in there. But the problem was that wasn't in the bill.
Okay.
And so I demanded that we include very specific language that says that this is border illegal crossing. This is not, we're going to stop you in Flagstaff and see if you got papers, because that's what 1070 was.
Yeah. Correct.
This is not 1070. 1070 was if you are in Arizona unlawfully, anywhere, anytime. It almost even encouraged law enforcement. It authorized law enforcement to stop people for no other reason other than to ask them for their papers. And that's wrong, too. Yeah. So what I wanted to do is make sure that we got rid of the DACA, check mark.
Right.
2, that we put specific language in that talked about illegal border crossings being the crime that we're focused on. And then 3, I wanted specific language to make sure that this in no way would be used retroactively to try to identify and or arrest and or deport people who are already here.
Okay.
And let me just read you the paragraph that addressed that. And this has been put in the bill now. This section is the whole illegal border crossing section. This section may only be enforced prospectively, period. This section does not apply retroactively and shall not be construed to apply to the conduct of any person who entered this state unlawfully from a foreign nation at any time before this section becomes enforceable.
All right. We're being joined by Ken Bennett. He snuck out of the meeting. They're voting on this whole thing. He's a state senator. Last week he was a no on this Secure the Border Act. All right. DACA is out. All right. So do you you read a bunch of stuff there that I don't understand.
I understand it, sir.
You don't have to say
yes,
that,
you
Bruce.
do.
You don't have to. All right. So are you guaranteeing us that racial profiling isn't going to happen here? Hispanic people, they're listening to the station and like, listen, it sounded last week like they can pull me over and ask for my papers. Is this a guarantee that crap isn't in there?
That the crap is not in this bill. Now, if there are bad apple law enforcement officers who are pulling people over and asking for immigration papers, they're violating state law because they have no authority to do that.
Correct.
And this language, if the voters pass it in November, the language that I just read you will be in here. There's nothing in here that can apply to a person who entered Arizona unlawfully. Even unlawfully. I mean, it says that. I know of almost no other state law that I can think of where we make a clear statement that a law cannot be enforced against somebody who may have already broke the law before. But it says it right in here that if you're in Arizona illegally already, before this bill takes effect, and it's going to be a year or two before it ever takes effect, the people will have to approve it if they do, and then it is conditioned on whether the Supreme Court rules that the similar bill in Texas, SB 4, is constitutional. So it's probably a year or two before this bill would even be enforceable.
Right.
But until that time and after that time, no one in Arizona can be stopped, arrested, detained, or otherwise dealt with by law enforcement.
So my question to you,
for being
Senator,
here illegally.
Senator Bennett, my question to you is: there was also language in the original bill that, I'll use the term, indemnified law enforcement, protected them against lawsuits should they violate this. So you already said, well, what if there's some rogue law enforcement officer starts doing it? Well, are they still protected by the wording of the law, even if they are, let's say, violating somebody's civil rights?
There is a paragraph, and it's not my favorite paragraph of what is in this bill, but there's a paragraph in the bill about law enforcement having kind of civil immunity is the word that is used for activities that they do under this new article.
So they still
basically
have
this creates a new state crime of entering the country illegally, except not through a lawful port of entry. So there's immunity for law enforcement if they follow this new law. If they break this law or break the other laws that maybe some of them are already breaking, no, there's no immunity for them.
Arizona State Senator Ken Bennett, are you a yes now on this vote? Are you a yes now on this bill?
I am, but I just explained on my vote on the floor that there are further concerns. I was concerned by some comments brought up by Senator Bravo about mixed immigration status families applying for benefits for some of the family members that are U.S. citizens or here legally, and concerned that other family members might get caught up in that process. I think that's a legitimate concern, and I encouraged all of the members of the Senate and the House, where it goes to next, to have an open mind for further amendments to make this better.
All right.
But I voted yes because they fixed the three things that I told you last week, Gaydos, that I was a no. I was a no.
All right.
Senator Bennett, we appreciate your time. Thank you, sir. Thank you for explaining.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's Senator Ken Bennett. He's a yes. It is past the Senate. It now heads to the House, SB 2060.
Thanks for watching Outspoken with Bruce and Gaydos. Tap to watch more from KTAR News and click the button in the middle to subscribe.